Um, I, uh, um, I would,
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon once more. Thank you very much for coming to this event. And it's going to be a memorable one. And we're starting a little bit late, but regardless, we'll continue. So, once again, good afternoon. Basil Karanjo, Secretary General Emeritus Society of Engineering Students, JQuat, and it's a pleasure to welcome you here for the Manifesto launch of our President-elect, our President, Engineer Harrison Keter. I'd like to recognize the presence of Engineer Professor Alex Munyasi Kumbo, Engineer Luca Teretich, engineers around, and engineers to be. Good afternoon. So just to notify you all, we are also live on YouTube and also on Google Meet. And we are going to have media presence from KBC, Citizen, and TV47. So I want to notify you that you are being recorded and pictures also being taken, which will be covered on the various media. So before we start, I like everyone to have a neighbor. So who doesn't have a neighbor? So if you don't have a neighbor, I want you to have a neighbor. I want you to be seated next to a neighbor. I want you to be seated next to a neighbor. So those who are not seated next to a neighbor, okay. DJ, they want to a warm up as they look for a neighbor, a music. So by the time I order the DJ to stop, I want everyone to have a neighbor, okay? Sawa. DJ. Once again, we are also live on YouTube, and those following us on YouTube, you are welcomed and you are open to react. Our media team is watching you. Okay, so everyone has a neighbor. Okay. DJ, it's enough. So, I can see everyone as a neighbor. So, I'm going to task you a small thing to warm up. Okay? So, everyone now knows their neighbor. Okay. So, we have our thumb, we have our index finger, okay? So, I want you to have your index finger raised. Your right hand, have our index finger raised. Okay, yes. Then your neighbor should have his, if your neighbor has raised his index finger, your hand should be next to him with your fist, yeah? Okay? So be close to him. Like, you've gotten me. So be around his index finger, okay? So you have two. Be careful. Because I'll say 1, 2, 3, okay? So, with your finger raised, maintain it up. When I say 3, the person holding up his index finger needs to pull away, okay? Then the person who's holding his fist needs to grab that person, okay? So the person, if the person pulls away, he has won, okay? And if the person grabs you, he has won, okay? We are in agreement. Who doesn't have a neighbor? So, now have a keen eye. Okay, we'll have a trial. 1, 2, 3. How many have won? Nice. Okay, last trial. Okay? Be ready for the game. Last trial. This is a trial run. Okay? 1, 2, 1. I said 3. 1, 3. Okay, I think now you get the game, okay? So, nice. So, we are now starting, okay? Let's go. So, 1, 8, 3. Another one, okay? So, 1, 2, 40, 1, 3. Okay, I think you are happy now, okay? Or do you want a last one? I think it's enough for today. So once again, those who are joining us online on YouTube and Google Meet, you are welcome. And at this juncture, I'd like to welcome Jim Ngugi for an opening prayer.
Good evening, everyone. Let us pray. Our dear Heavenly Father, we are before you this evening. We are grateful for the opportunity to be here gathered. We pray that this meeting will be successful. We pray that all that we will discuss will be implemented, and we pray that the future of Kenya will be bright. In the mighty name of Jesus, we do pray and believe. Amen.
Thank you very much. So, all protocol observed. I'd like us all to stand for the national anthem. Thank you. Thank you all. We can have a seat. Our president candidate, Engineer Harrison Keter, Engineer Professor Alex Munyasi Mumbwa, Engineer Luke Torotich, all engineers joining us online on YouTube and Google Meet, fellow graduate engineers, and ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon once more. I'm Basil Karanja, Secretary General Society of Engineering Students, JQuat, and I'd like once again to welcome you all to the Manifesto launch of our presidential candidate, Engineer Harrison Keter. At this juncture, I'd like to welcome Karen Odero. Okay, before that, small housekeeping. So I'd like to request you, those who are seated behind, if you could move forward so that you can give space those coming late to sit at the back. So kindly, let's move forward. Kindly. Kindly. Kindly, I'm not seeing. Kindly, let's move forward. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Also, I'd like to welcome you at the United Kenya Club. So, there are two exits here. This exit and we have the exit at back. For purpose of housekeeping, you can use your exit at the back if you are going to relieve yourself, and you can use the reception. So, once again, I'd like to welcome you all, and it's a pleasure you being here, and also those joining us live on YouTube and also on Google Meets. So, at this juncture, allow me to welcome Karen Odero.
Wale wako na hawa huko nyumbani, they are talking about it. Even Janet are talking about it. Even Janet.
Yes, so Karen Odero Sharon is an electrical and electronics engineer and a graduate of Egerton University, where she earned an electronic engineering, instrumentation and control. She furthered her studies through the Install Her Solar Training Program, T1 and T2, and the Clean Energy Entrepreneurship Program at the Strathmore University Energy Research Center. She has served in several leadership roles, including Director of Finance of the Egerton University Students Association, also as the Treasurer of the Egerton Engineering Students Association, Class Representative, and Congress Representative. She has gained professional experience through attachments and training with Kenya Airways, Kengen, Ibera Africa Power, an aviation enthusiast with a passion for sustainable energy and engineering innovation. She is committed to mentoring young engineers and advancing the engineering profession. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a round of applause for Karen Odero.
Good afternoon, everyone. Are you happy to be here today?
Yes,
I'm also happy to be here today. My name is Karen Odero, as they have said. For this campaign, I have been serving as the campaign manager. And for this day, I have been the event planner. And I am really happy that this event has come to light. It wasn't easy convincing engineer to do it, but finally, he agreed to our plea as the campaign team, and he agreed to put this event. Mine is to open the event and give an opening remarks. And I wish to welcome you all. I am happy that you have created your time to come. And we are really looking forward to diving into the manifesto and hearing what engineer has to say for us. We're also looking forward to listen to what our speakers have to say. I believe we will have some knowledge at the end of the day. Thank you very much.
more. A round of applause for Karen Odero. So in engineering, like all professions, there's the emerging generation, the existing generation, and the exiting generation. Triple E's, okay? Emerging, existing, and exiting. So that's life. And in engineering, we have those who are studying to be engineers, those practicing to be engineers, and those who have felt their time has been enough, they want to exit. So with that in note, it brings our next speaker. So our next speaker is, can you guess in which category does he lie? I've given you three categories. We have emerging, existing, and exiting. Emerging. So for there to be great cycle of life, we need all to be at sync. So engineers who are emerging need mentorship from existing engineers. Similar to those who are existing, they need the experience from the exiting engineers. So at this juncture, I'd like to welcome an emerging engineer, David Kariuki. Mr. David Kariuki is the chairperson of the Engineering Students Association at Kenyatta University and the vice chair of Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineering, Microwave Theory and Technology Society, MTTS, KU chapter. He is passionate about advancing the engineering profession through technical experience, leadership, high school career mentorship, and professional service. Serving in his second year in executive leadership within ISA, his journey reflects a commitment to developing future engineering leaders, guiding high school students towards STEM career, and strengthening linkage between student engineers, industry, and the Institution of Engineers of Kenya. So ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. David Kariuki.
Our incoming President, Engineer Harrison Keter, the distinguished guests, allow me to write on the protocol that has been observed by our MC. Good evening. You're giving me Monday morning vibes, yet it is on a Thursday afternoon. We are approaching weekend, so I need to feel that energy. I hate talking to our pragmatic audience, so kindly reciprocate the energy. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. All right, so I'm assuming most of you here, you drove yourself here, or if you didn't drive yourself here, you boarded a matatu or a Uber, etc. And for you to be able to drive a vehicle, you go to the driving school, and when you go to the driving school, you're taken through the theory classes, then you do the practical classes. After doing the practical classes, you do a test, and you're given a driving license. Good evening.
Good evening.
I was to say, oh, praise God, and then I realized this is not a church congregation. So you're given a driving license after doing the test. Now imagine if you went to a driving school for those of you who have been there, and you are only taught the theory part of it, let's say even for months, without taking any, with having zero driving sessions, your whole entire month there you take driving the theory classes. So if someone gives you the key to drive a car without having done the theory part of the driving, which is the part of the curriculum, there are two possible outcomes. No matter how good you are in that theory, even if you pass the theory test with 100%, no matter how good you are at it, if I give you the keys to move that vehicle from one point to another, there will be two possible outcomes. One, either you will stagnate, you will not be able to move that vehicle. The other one, you can almost guess. You will crash or cause havoc around the roads. So, myself, I like cycling. That is what I'm so passionate about. And when I was learning how to cycle, I remember after a few weeks in cycling, I would see my friends would cycle, will pedal, and then they drop off their hands from the steering. What you normally call cycling free hands, like you're not using your hands while cycling. So I said, let me try whatever they are doing. I dropped one hand. I said, let me try by dropping one hand and cycling the bicycle using one hand. You can almost guess what happened. I hit the fence. And it was a traumatizing experience. The second time, I tried dropping off both hands and said, let me try free cycling. Maybe it's because I was not courageous enough. But you can almost guess what happened. I fell off the ground, and it was also an equally traumatizing experience. So, where am I headed with this? We as students, most of the times, you want to, no matter how good you are in theory, you can get that first class, excel in your academics, but without the practical bit of it, you cannot excel in the industry. And that is the problem that we are having right now, where you find that the school releases you to the outside world, and it says we've given you all the powers to do what pertains that degree. And then the industry says, oh no, you don't have the experience that we need. You're not ready for the industry. And you as a student, you're left in the middle ground, wondering what or where to go, right? Are we together? Are we together? Yeah. So that is what I was to talk about. Industry, the essence or the impact of early industry exposure in students. So myself, I'm an enthusiast of neuroscience, and I went ahead to understand, okay, why can't you learn how to cycle and then use all those styles of cycling after learning to cycle in one day? Then I came to realize it's a skill, and you cannot learn that skill or master it in one day. It will take time. And that is why, so in neuroscience they say, when you learn a skill, your brain forms neurons. And those neurons with time, they multiply, and they form something called, I apologize for using too much biological terms, but I'm just trying to make you understand my point of view. So, when those neurons multiply, they form a layer of fat called myelin. And as you continue to practice in gaining that skill, that myelin strengthens. That is why you find that when, for instance, you're driving, it comes out automatic. You don't have to think, oh, I need to engage the clutch, I need to change the gear. It just comes out automatic because with experience, you've strengthened that part of the brain. And that is the same case with students. when you expose yourself to the industry as early, you start gaining that industry exposure that you don't have to gain after leaving, that you don't have to wait until you leave campus so that you can expose yourself to the industry. Are we together? Yes. So I had just a few points. Okay. With that, let me introduce myself. My name is David Karaoke. I realized I had not introduced myself. So I'm David Karaoke, the chairperson of the Engineering Students Association, Kenyatta University. So I'm just going to share with you in a nutshell some of the impacts of exposing yourself to the industry early. Okay, this is just my point of view. So it builds professional identity early. Right now, if you just go and pick a random first year student who is basically proceeding to second year and ask them, okay, let's take for instance, they're taking civil engineering. You ask them, and by the way, what does your course entail, or where do you envision to work after you graduate? Most of them, they'll tell you things that are out of this world, and you'll realize they're so clueless about the course they're taking. So you, by exposing yourself to the industry early, or else by exposing the students to the industry early, it helps them understand what the profession entails, and so they are able to be visionary. They are able to make career decisions early. By career decisions, I mean maybe the path that they will what is it called? They specialize in after they graduate. That is point number one. Let's proceed to the other one, which is it deepens your conceptual mastery via experience contextualization. What I mean by that is just what I've explained. The more you go to an industry, you visualize, for instance, you're taking civil engineering, see a dam, how fluid mechanics is being applied there. It sticks more than you just reading the textbook. It said, I read somewhere in neuroscience that just absorbing theory, it is stored in the declarative memory. In declarative memory, it means that there is just a cognitive load in your brain. You cannot be able to apply that theory until you practice. I don't know whether I'm making sense. Are we together? Yes. So I'm finalizing. The other one is it cultivates essential socio-technical skills. By socio-technical skills, I mean this is work ethics, how you relate with people in the industry, how you talk to your seniors, how you talk to your colleagues, how you, it is called interdisciplinary teamwork, how you collaborate with people from other disciplines. Yeah, that is what we are talking about, cultivating an essential socio-technical skills. So by exposing yourself to the industry early, that is what you gain. And then, as I am finalizing, it builds social capital and eliminates something we call onboarding drag. What I mean by onboarding drag is a state where you find someone has graduated, very good grades, but they're not adapting to the industry. Reason being, maybe they're not getting into good terms, or rather they're not developing chemistry as fast as possible with their workmates, with the colleagues, I mean, and the seniors. Reason being, they have not been used to this. But when you start talking to the professionals as early as you're in school, you know how to interact with seniors, how to, and etc., etc. Yeah, so another thing is that, let me just give you a brief overview of what I gained from the industry. My first week in attachment, I realized there was a gap in some of the machines that, okay, by a gap I mean they were not functioning as I would expect them to do. So I realized this can be a potential project. So when you expose yourself to the industry as early, you are able to identify potential gaps and come up with projects that are viable. Because it is not surprising that you'll hear us as engineers, we're working on projects that are not solving real world problems, or rather industry problems. Reason being, we are not exposing ourselves to the industry to understand some of the challenges that the industries are facing and some of the gaps that we can maximize on. Yeah, and so that is all I had. Due to time, I'll wind it up there. Thank you so much for listening to me. I wish all of you a happy time and enjoy the lunch. Thank you.
Let's appreciate him in a better club. Can we do it in style, the way we do it as engineers? Eh? Let us do it mathematically. Can you tell your neighbor mathematically? Mathematically, okay? I want us to do it like this. 1, 2, 3, and then we click 1, 2, 3, and then we do. Can we do that? Can we appreciate our speaker in those ways? 1, click, and then one more time. President, karibu. Aha. So just a brief introduction. My name is Dr. Luke Toroitich. Just to assist in running the program. Now, I want us to do something special. You realize the speeches that have been here have been directed towards the presidential manifesto launch. So I want us to do something special. We will have our presidential candidate walking in, but in style. How many of you know a song that says, "The Conqueror, the Lion, the Champion"? You know that song? So we will have that song playing. Then we have the presidential candidates walking in. Conqueror, Champion, Lion is here. Okay? So I'd request, at that time, we'll all stand and we'll clap. And if you are blessed with some moves, you can dance. Senor, you can dance because you are alive today. So proceeding with the next speaker. The next speaker is one of us. We have, I can see the DJ, amechangamka, the Conqueror. So could we know whether the team is ready? Are we ready? Thumbs up? Okay. So guys, approaching from the back, let us all stand as we invite the president-elect, president-candidate, President Rais anakuja. Makofi kwake. Thank you very much. The Lion, the Conqueror, the Champion is here with us. Thank you so much. Asante sana, Engineer Harrison Keter. Without you, we would not be here today. We would not be eating some nice food and enjoying the cold breeze of Nairobi. So our next speaker is Ms. Caroline Kwamboka. Ms. Caroline Kwamboka is a graduate electrical engineer at the Kenya Power, and she is the first president of Murang'a University of Technology and Engineering Student Association, abbreviation MUTSEA, MUTESA. She is passionate about advancing the engineering profession through technical excellence, innovation, leadership, mentorship, and professional service. Her journey reflects a commitment to developing the future engineering leaders while contributing to national development through engineering practice and active engagement within the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, IEK. You know what? Leadership is measured not merely by vision, but by the ability to unite professions around a shared purpose. It is with this conviction that I proudly endorse, these are the words of her herself. She endorses Engineer Harrison Keter for President of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya. Karibu sana kwa Mboka, tumkaribishe.
Hi everyone, first of all. Okay, since the aspiring president is here, so I'll begin with him. So the presidential candidates, 2026-2028, all protocols observed. Good evening. I'm Caroline Kwamboka. I'm a graduate electrical engineer at the Kenya Power and Lighting Company. I'm also the previous, there have been two presidents just after me. So I happen to be the founding president in TESA, which is Indiana University of Technology, Engineering Students Association. So have you seen? So I'm here to represent the graduate engineers and also to be able to tell you an inspiration. Yeah. So one quick question, I'll pose it to any random person, so I would expect anyone to answer me. So what's the definition of inclusivity? By your own terms, your own words, what's the definition of inclusivity? Volunteer? Even the students, this is your chance to shine, yeah? Visibility, we have a potential presidential candidate, so you might meet in the future and you'll be like, oh yeah, I remember you.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Britton Elia, and inclusivity, in my own perspective, everybody having the same equality and opportunity.
Thank you. That's actually perfect. So inclusivity means no matter the race, no matter the gender, no matter at what point in the profession you are in, you are included in the profession. So IEK is a society, let's say an institution made up of engineers, that is the student engineers, graduate engineers, professional engineers, and even the senior engineers, yeah? So I'll give you a short story with how we met with His Excellency Engineer Harrison Keter. So it was on this first Women Engineers Convention. Have you heard about it? I think currently it's ongoing, the second convention, the second ever to exist. So I was part of the organizing committee for the Women Engineers Convention, and also happened to be a speaker during that convention. And by default, we had a conversation, one short conversation with the presidential candidate, and we had a lot of talks. And then now we talked about, I also happened to represent also the women in engineering, and we happened to receive the first gift ever. So he was there, and he was like, engineering is all about exposure, it's all about being outside there, making connection, because in the long run, you're not gonna find the opportunities if you just say within your own cocoon. Is it a cocoon? Yeah, yeah. So that was the short story, and looking at this far, somehow I come to realize that, like if you watch at Engineer Keteri's, not circle, but his journey from being the South Rift chair, being the former, is the current council the former or the current council is the current? So during the okay, so yeah, being the former vice president, yeah, you can really tell that inclusivity is part of the story. Looking at the proposers and the seconders, actually all, I feel like electrical engineers are more few than the civil engineers, and even mechanicals are much lesser. But then now when it came to the only chance to prove that inclusivity is a thing, he managed to involve the proposer as a mechanical, no, he himself is a mechanical engineer, then the proposer was an electrical, no, civil, then the seconder was the other field. Yeah, now that was inclusivity. So standing before you, I'm representing graduate engineers from a side of, I think it's Spain, because I think we are the most vulnerable group in the institution, because students, I think students are not vulnerable, because at least they depend on the parents. And the professional engineers wouldn't be vulnerable because everything favors them, yeah. And now graduate engineers is the large lot where everything is happening there when frustrations are coming in and when everything is falling apart, because I feel like when you leave engineering school, you come with so much expectations, because engineering is a prestigious profession, yeah. So I feel like engineering holds the most smartest people in the country. So by default, we think, of course we have a right to think, we think that the world will favor us, yeah? And then now you go to internship. Okay, I will say just my story, because when I left engineering school, when I got the letter for internship, and I looked at the salary, I was like, oh my God, 5 years. So what I was gonna say is, as graduate engineers, we are the most vulnerable team. We are the most people that are normally so frustrated with how the engineering world is like. And we would like to request the incoming president to really work on the graduate engineers, because engineering is part of the prestigious profession. Because I feel like when we were young, when someone was to introduce themselves as an engineer, as a lawyer, as a doctor, people will be like, you know what, she or he has money, you get me? But then sasa kuna ground. Yeah, I think that one should be worked on. And then there's issue with the IBK registration currently. Actually, when there was a trend that I'll be representing the graduate engineers, most of them sent a message that maybe it would be an honor to also pass it out, that most of people are missing out on opportunities just because they're not registered with the IBK. And timely registration leads to opportunities. So I feel like IBK and IEK should work hand in hand to make sure that graduate engineers are looked out for. There are more opportunities. Even the starting salary should be, it's an engineer. We are talking about an engineer. It should not be 20, 25, 30, it should be better. Yeah. And with that said, I would like to endorse and wish Engineer Harrison Keter the best in the incoming elections, and we hope to win, yeah? Yeah. Have a good evening, and that's all.
Thank you. Appreciate tena ile style yetu mathematical. 1, 2, 3. One more time. Click. Stop. Thank you so much. I'd like to also recognize amongst us Engineer Kibias, who is the acting managing director Keter, and we also have one of a very good friend of mine, Mr. Marindat, together, South Rift, where it all started. So at this point in time, I'd like to welcome Engineer Professor Alex Muumbo, and I'll just read his little profile here, so that at least you know the type of senior people that are here together with us. Engineer Professor Alex Muumbo is the Director, Center for Open and Lifelong Education, abbreviated COLE, and a Professor of Mechanical Engineering at the Technical University of Kenya, UK. He holds a doctorate in Material Engineering from Nagoya University, Japan, an MSc in Advanced Manufacturing System Engineering and Management from the University of Bradford, UK, and a BTech Honours in Production Technology from Moi University, Kenya. Since starting his academic career in 1989, he has amassed over 36 years of teaching, research, and leadership experience, including a stint as the Director of ICT at Moi University, where he helped drive early learning and early e-learning adoption. In addition to being the chairman of the IEK editorial board, he is a mentor in both Engineers Board of Kenya, EBK, and the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, IEK. And he remains committed to strengthening university and industry linkages and advancing engineering education across sub-Saharan Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, tumpige makofi anapokuja.
Thank you, MC. Thank you, MC. As you've heard, those are my names, and I work at the Technical University of Kenya currently, but I'm here to support our candidate, Engineer Harrison Keter, be it for the President, Institution of Engineers of Kenya, coming elections. So let me begin. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished colleagues, fellow members of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, invited guests and members of the press, it is a distinct honor to stand before you today at the launch of a manifesto that I believe speaks directly to the crossroads at which our profession and indeed our nation's higher education system currently stands. I speak to you today not merely as a colleague of Engineer Harrison Keter, but also as a professor of mechanical engineering who lives daily with the realities that this manifesto seeks to address. I speak as someone who has sat in Senate rooms, drafting frameworks for reform, who has chaired committees wrestling with resource constraints, as we have heard from the graduate engineers who
kama sisi tuko hapa physically na tuko online.
I have also watched with growing concern
tuko online, sijui naitwa jina gani, but si jina yangu.
What our engineering training institutions are expected to deliver and what they are currently equipped to deliver. It is against this backdrop that I rise unreservedly to support the candidature of Engineer Harrison Keter for the presidency of IEK. Kenya's institutions of higher learning stand at the threshold of one of the most significant transitions in our educational history. That is the full transition to competency-based education and training. By 2029, barely 3 years from now, our universities and technical institutions will be required to admit their first cohorts of learners under a curriculum architecture that demands hands-on, competency-driven, as well as industry-aligned training. This is not a small undertaking. And I say this not in abstract, but from direct experience. Developing CBET-compliant curricula, restructuring programs around competency outcomes, and preparing academic staff for this shift is painstaking, resource-intensive work, and it also touches every course outline, every lab session, every industrial attachment placement, as well as the assessment rubrics. And yet, as we stand here today, our institutions face this transition burdened by three critical deficits. First, it is the weak university-industry linkages. Too many of our engineering graduates leave our institutions having encountered industry only on paper, particularly in case studies and textbook illustrations, rather than on the factory floor, in the design office, or even construction site. You'll agree with me, CBET cannot succeed on a foundation of theoretical competency alone. It demands sustained, structured, mutually beneficial partnerships between our lecture halls and the industries our graduates will serve. Secondly, we are surrounded by aging and inefficient or insufficient laboratory equipment. Again, competency-based training lives or dies by the quality of practical exposure. A CBET curriculum that lists a competency but lacks the equipment to demonstrate it is a curriculum in name only. I say this with certainty that many of our institutions are attempting to train 21st century engineers on equipment inherited from a different technological era. Thirdly, there is a critical shortage of qualified academic staff. Even the best designed curriculum, framework, the best equipped lab, the strongest industry partnership will falter without sufficient numbers of appropriately trained, competency-oriented educators to deliver it. These are not new problems, but they are problems that require the concerted, sustained, and technically informed advocacy of a professional body like IEK, advocacy that speaks with authority to government, to industry, and to institutions themselves. That is why Engineer Keter's candidature matters. Ladies and gentlemen, a manifesto is not merely a campaign document. It is a covenant. And what I have seen in this manifesto is a recognition that IEK's role cannot remain confined to professional registration and disciplinary oversight. IEK must become an active, visible partner in shaping the practical readiness of the engineers this country will need for the next generation. Under his leadership, I believe IEK can and should institutionalize structured university-industry partnership frameworks, moving beyond an ad hoc MOU framework to sustained, monitored linkages that guarantee our CBET learners genuine industrial exposure, mentorship, and attachment placements industry-wide. Again, also champion a national equipment and infrastructure mobilization drive. And this will be done by working with government, development partners, and industry to close the laboratory and infrastructure gap ahead of the year 2029, so that no institution is forced to teach competency from the chalkboard. Again, also advocate for accelerated staff development pathways, including industry secondments, fellowship exchanges, and recognition of industry practitioners as adjunct trainers to address the shortage of qualified academic staff without waiting a generation for the pipeline to refill. Again, we look forward to the championing of better remuneration for engineers working with government, particularly non-practicing allowance for engineering professionals in the academic field. And we believe through this we will be able to front IEK as the technical conscience of this CBET transition, ensuring that as institutions rush to comply with the 2029 deadline, the competencies being certified are real, verifiable, and industry relevant, not merely paper compliance. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, this has become apparent that transition to CBET will happen with or without adequate preparation, as things are going currently. The only question is whether our institutions cross that threshold equipped and supported, or unprepared and exposed. The choice of who leads IEK over the next term will materially shape which of these futures we will inhabit. I have known Engineer Harrison Keter's work, his diligence, his commitment to the engineering profession, and I am strongly convicted that he understands the IEK's strength, that IEK's strength lies not in ceremony, but in its capacity to solve real problems for real institutions. It's on this basis, as an engineer, as an academic, as a stakeholder in the future of engineering education in this country, that I lend my full support to his candidature. I urge you, as members of this fraternity, to look closely at his manifesto, ask him the hard questions, and then give him your vote. Thank you. God bless the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, and God bless Kenya.
A round of applause once more. I second his message. Our President-to-be, Engineer Harrison Keter, Engineer Kibas, Acting Managing Director, Ketraco, Engineer Professor Alex Munyasi was just spoken, engineers around, graduate engineers, and engineers-to-be, good afternoon. At this juncture, I would like to welcome our last speaker. She ran a little bit late, but she's here finally, and I'd like to introduce her to come on stage. But before that, I think you all have seen that there are three things: emerging, existing, and exiting generation. And all of them need to be unionized so that the engineering fraternity can grow and continue growing And that's the promise we have with our presidential candidate, Engineer Harrison Keter. So at this juncture, I'd like to welcome Miriam N. Sagina. Miriam is a professional civil and structural engineer and the founder and managing director of Sagini Projects Limited, a civil and structural engineering consultancy. She has experience in structural design, structural assessments, retrofitting of buildings, and is passionate about advancing professional excellence, innovation, and the growth of young engineers within the profession. She is also an active member of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, having taken part in key committees within the institution. Ladies and gentlemen, once more, let's welcome our guest, Miriam Sagina.
Engineers of all ages, young and old and medium, good afternoon. As you've heard, my name is Miriam Sagini, not Sagina. People frequently get that confused. I don't know why people say Sagina, but it's Sagini. No relation to the politician Sagini, just in case anyone is wondering. I am here as a professional engineer in the field of civil structural engineering, and I was invited to speak about young engineers in consultancy. There was a graduate engineer here who spoke about the challenges young engineers face. We've just had a distinguished speaker who has had vast experience in the field, and now we're wondering what is the middle ground, and I'm here to represent. I'm not going to speak for very long, my speech is very short, but I hope it's going to capture what I have in mind for Engineer Keter, who I support 100%. Fellow engineers, I stand before you today not only as a professional engineer, but as a founder and managing director of an engineering consultancy in Kenya, and a proud member of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya. As a not too old engineer, I'm not going to say I'm young, don't let looks fool you, but when you talk about engineers who run their own consulting firms, I'm pretty young, but wholesomely not very young. I asked myself one question: what kind of profession are we building for the next generation? Will engineering continue to be the driving force behind Kenya's development, or are we going to watch from the sidelines while others make decisions for our profession? That's why I stand before you today to confidently endorse Engineer Harrison Keter to be the president of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya. His vision is not about personalities. It's about placing engineers exactly where we belong, at the center of Kenya's transformation. His commitment to infrastructure development, industrialization, engineering export, innovation, research, and institution excellence reflects the aspiration of every engineer who wants our profession to be respected, influential, and globally competitive. We have just seen the previous speaker who has embodied everything I've just said, and the younger speakers who are yet to get there. So, as a professional engineer and the founder of an engineering consultancy, I understand the realities facing the engineers today. Success is not about technical knowledge, no. It's also about earning trust, creating opportunities, and demonstrating competence. The most important lesson I've learned, or one of the most important ones, is that building credibility often takes longer when people see your age first before they see your expertise, right? Yes. Myself, I've worked on structural assessments and complex retrofitting projects. For those who are not civil engineers, retrofitting is, in short, repairing a building that's about to collapse. So you know how complicated that is. And as a young engineer, I do a lot of that. Initially, stakeholders questioned whether someone of my age would handle such complicated and demanding assignment. Yet, something very interesting happened. After delivering those projects, the same stakeholders began giving me referrals to other more technically demanding assignments. I'm grateful that my work has earned that confidence, but it has also made me reflect. Young engineers often have to prove themselves first before they are trusted. I believe our profession should recognize competence, professionalism, and integrity from the onset, while continuing to value the wisdom and experience that our senior engineers bring. Because engineering is built on knowledge, ethics, sound judgment, and continuous learning, not just age. That is why Engineer Keter's manifesto resonates very well with me. His focus on engineering education and workforce development speaks directly to the need to mentor, empower, and create opportunities for young engineers. When young engineers are given opportunity to prove themselves, our profession will definitely become stronger. I also appreciate his commitment to supporting engineering enterprises and growth. I understand the challenges that young firms face when establishing themselves, competing fairly, and contributing meaningfully to national development. We need an institution, Mr. President, that not only upholds professional standards, but also advocates for engineers, creates opportunities, and helps local engineering firms thrive. His emphasis on research, innovation, digital engineering, and smart technologies demonstrates an understanding that the future engineering will be shaped not only by technical excellence, but by creativity, technology, and collaboration. His vision is also inclusive. It recognizes that the future of engineering depends on bringing together the wisdom of older engineers and the youthfulness of young engineers, and the energy and the innovation and the ambition of the younger generation. On 27th of July, as for now, we have an opportunity to choose leadership that will position engineers at the center of Kenya's transformation. Don't you all want that? We do, right? Yes. So I am humbly asking you or rather me and many others, to vote for Engineer Keter to be the president of the institution, and let us see our institution being moved forward in the right direction. Because a vote for Engineer Keter is a vote for impact. Thank you very much. May God bless you.
Another round of applause, kindly, to Piga Makofi. Wonderful. So even the young people can lead, not just by example, but in reality. Yeah? So members, I'd like to adjust a little bit of our program. We have the media with us here today, and normally at 7 o'clock they have to rush back and prepare the news briefs. So we just want to adjust something. We want to request the presidential candidate to do the launch of the manifesto, and then after he launches the manifesto, he will, for a short time, step outside to do photo shoot alongside with Professor and his friends. They'll step out for a photo shoot, and then thereafter, as he's doing the photo shoot, we'll be having an interactive brief session together. It will have some free time, so that by the time now we come back, we already have the media who are left to do their task. I hope that is in agreement. Okay. So at this point in time, I'd like to call Engineer Kibias to introduce to us the president. Kuna vitu zingine sina hiyo sijafika hapo. Kuna mambo sijafika. So nataka mkubwa introduce mkubwa. Karibu sana Engineer Kibias.
When I am saying you are giving me a very hard task. I'm a real engineer. We are not good in this job. I hope the media would have done it. But Mr. President, because I might not have time after this, I just want you to allow me 1 minute. Team, I was introduced earlier by the MC, and I would like to say I'm here on my registration number M4323. I'm not here as the CEO of Keter, but I'm here as an interested engineer in this country who want development for engineers. I would like just a minute to have the MC to stand. Just stand where you are. And also my friend Ole there to stand. I don't know if there is any other person from South Rift. Yeah, you'll sit, President. I thought that lady is joining us. But I want to say, the reason why I'm here is because of what we know between me and these two gentlemen standing here. I would like to say I'm a proud founding member of the South Rift IEK branch. And those two guys are among the team that we work very hard to convince the council to establish IEK South Rift. You can stand, my good friends. And you can sit down, I'm sorry. After that, I went to North Rift on transfer. And among other people who I might not be here, we founded North Rift IEK branch. The reason why I'm saying that is that the person who fought for us, the guy who went and supported these branches more, resourced the branch and believed in the branch, is none other than the guy we today proudly want to unveil to the world. So, Harrison, I'm not here as the CEO of Keter. I'm here as an engineer who believes that your leadership can steer us to where we want. Secondly, I work as a CEO of a company where the staff attrition is so high that I get scared every morning when I receive a call from one of our best engineers. I'm losing a lot of engineers to Europe, to countries in America, Australia. The reason is one: we are badly enumerated as engineers. Engineer, I know and I believe, like all the speakers that have spoken before me, that you will, God willing, lift this position and lead us as the president. Please, welfare should be number one priority. It makes everything flow as you want. Second, please, liaise with the government, let the engineers be on the table, let us not be the menu on the table. And I say this from one thing. The president has repeated all over this country that we need to increase power by 10,000 megawatts. 10,000 megawatts can only happen if the engineers are the one who are drafting and guiding the president. I doubt if the president has a good engineer who supports him. Please, take IEK to that table. Let us discuss that issue. And I say this because for the welfare of these young guys here, an increase in 100 megawatts means a lot of creation of job for engineers. And for your information, with the many bright engineers in Kenya, we are only having power at 2,500 megawatts at peak. So low that it cannot create employment for us. When power increases, it means that industries are thriving. Companies generating power, distributing and transmitting are an increasing workforce. So engineer, we want you to go and do that. I see countries like Egypt, they have the highest number of engineers, but their power capacity is at around 54,000 megawatts. So imagine if we move even a double from 2,500 to 5,000, all that you will do for us, engineer. And it is now my singular honor to welcome our presidential candidate, Engineer Keter, to address us. Welcome, engineer, and speak to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You may be seated. Unemployment, I dare to say, is the new cancer that is ravaging and tearing apart many countries, and especially the unity of the African continent. Unemployment. We have seen this from the xenophobic attacks in the south of this continent, and we are increasingly seeing the unrest, frequent strikes, largely led by young, unemployed youth who are frustrated with life after completing their college or university education. And the reason is one: unemployment. Even though we talk about remuneration and the kind of remuneration, the real challenge and problem is unemployment. And this country is not spared. When we see starting it happening in South Africa, Waswahili wasema, ukiona mwenzao akinyolewa, chako tia maji. Fellow engineers, distinguished members of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, colleagues, friends, members of the fourth estate, and family, good afternoon. My name is Engineer Harrison Keter. I'm a father, a husband, a professional mechanical engineer, a corporate member of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, a professional member of the Geothermal Association of Kenya, Regional Power Generation Manager, Kenyan PLC, and the immediate first Vice President, Institution of Engineers of Kenya. And now, your presidential aspirant for the IEK 2026-2028 Council. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this occasion when I will be launching my manifesto. Not just a manifesto, but something that speaks much more and deeper than that. I stand before you today with a deep sense of humility, purpose, and an unshakable belief in what we can achieve together. We gather here not to launch a political campaign. No. This is far more than that. We gather to unveil a blueprint, an engineering blueprint for national transformation, a blueprint for a first world Kenya. Because therein lies the solution to unemployment. This manifesto is not mere rhetoric. It is our collective statement of intent. It is a solemn commitment to a first world Kenya. Because that is what we all desire and want to achieve. A first world Kenya engineered by engineers. For too long, we have been the silent engines driving this nation, and our role has not been appreciated that much as engineers. And today we declare that it's our time to sit at the driver's seat and steer the engineering discourse that this country so needs for national transformation and development. The speakers who have come before me have highlighted some key issues facing our country, facing our engineers, facing our people. And these issues are affecting various sectors, our country and our profession. Let me just reflect on a few of them. The young graduate engineers talked about the challenge of unemployment. They talked about the shock of earning peanuts after doing 4 years of engineering. It speaks to disillusionment. And this is what I just said is causing the unrest we are seeing in many countries. And our neighbor in the south here have been hit bad. And what has happened there has actually affected Kenyans who had gone to look for greener pastures. This is deep. We read and see and watch videos online of Africans in the north drowning in the Red Sea and all the other ocean, traveling long distances by some manual boats, only in the hope of trying to seek for greener pastures and better life. Yet the irony is, wherever they are going, the owners of those places want to come and settle in Africa because Africa is the best. It is where God put everything that a man and a living thing needs to thrive. From good climate to naturally irrigated fields, through natural rainfall that produces food, fresh food, to the minerals that are bound in our countries and in our continent. But yet with all that, we still find our people trying to move to go and die in the sea. And those who make it there end up actually being slaves or something close to that. Engineer Dr. Alex has talked about the challenges our institutions of higher learning face. And these are things we see and we keep quiet about. I'm sure all of us have heard of the challenges the universities have been facing, many of which almost going under or even being put under receivership. Moi University have had to fire more than half or probably 80% of its staff. We know Nairobi University here, my alma mater, have struggled with bills. This as infrastructure we have built as a nation, yet we allow them to deteriorate to the point of extinction. And with that deterioration and extinction comes loss of jobs and frustrations for our people. Yet we know that infrastructure can be designed and built for ages, for centuries. That is why if you go to Europe, you find buildings of 17-something still standing. What is wrong with us? You know what is wrong? When we, the learned people, the professionals, keep quiet when it comes to matters touching national leadership. That is where the problem is. Engineer Miriam Sagini has given us some hope that even young engineers can thrive in consultancy, in enterprise, albeit with challenges. And that is also one of the challenges, one of the things I will to challenge my fellow engineers, that as engineers, we need to think also about creating jobs. And it is possible. And I know there are challenges, including the environment to create and let those jobs thrive. And that is what I'll speak to in this manifesto. So, why Engineer Harrison Keter for President of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, 2026-2028? My vision is to elevate engineers as central architects of Kenya's transformation, ensuring that engineering expertise drives national infrastructure development. It drives industrialization, manufacturing growth, and global engineering and exports, innovation and research, and institutional excellence. Engineers, are we ready to do that? Are we ready to do that? Yes. Can I hear it again? Engineers, are we ready? Yes. You know, they are listening. And I'm asking themselves, are they really ready? So to achieve this vision, I have identified about 7 pillars that will guide this process. And one of them speaks to what Prof was talking about, engineering education and workforce development. This is what is going to build our future. My vision for IEK begins with one fundamental truth, that we cannot build a great nation without first building a great engineering workforce. And I know what a great workforce can do. I know it from practical experience. In the 1990s, 98 and early 2000, Kenya suffered serious load shedding. Because of drought that hit our country, and we were dependent on hydropower up to the tune of about 70% of our energy. And something had to be done. And I really allowed those people that we had to think outside the box and venture into geothermal, doing research and putting resources to do their scientific surveys and drilling. But one key thing that has led to the success of Kenya in geothermal energy is a well-trained workforce. And to this I give credit to Kengen, my employer. Kengen has trained engineers and scientists that are now driving the exploration and drilling of geothermal energy. In this country currently, we do not have foreign experts doing the job of exploration and drilling for geothermal. We have our own that we have trained. And in investing in that infrastructure, the geothermal energy in Kenya came with about 2,000 jobs. Direct jobs, those employed between Kengen and GDC. This is the kind of impact we want infrastructure in Kenya to do. That where Kenyan money, taxpayers' money is put in some critical infrastructure, the impact should be measured on the metrics of the jobs to Kenyans. And these are the people who are paying taxes for this country. So what do I want from our institutions? If workforce is indeed the most important resource a nation can have, then we have to put in resources to develop the same workforce and ensure we advance their competence. As the president of IEK, I will lobby to seek the institutionalization of a structured graduate engineering internship program paid for by the exchequer. And I'm not going to sit pretty as we talk about the 25,000 Kenya shillings paid by PSC. That is not what I'm talking about. We need something special for engineering because engineering is what's going to drive this country. So I don't want to talk about the 25,000. I'm even assuming it's not there. Because even the numbers they are considering is not enough. This program, in my prayers and design, would be mandatory for all engineering graduates. So that our engineers can go and practice and get experience to serve this nation. That internship program, up to 3 years, should be tracked and should lead engineers to register as professional engineers. And we eliminate the challenge of engineers having to stay 10, 20 years without registering as professional engineers. Further, I will lobby to have a framework, an engineering practical framework that will link academia and industry. So that at every stage of the engineering training, our trainees are able to get practical experience from industries. When I was at the university, we used to have something called fourth term in our engineering department. Some place we get some practice. But hey, this was happening in a very old laboratory that when you go there, you don't even have the energy to stay in that room. And it is still the same today, sadly. So, we want a practical industry-academia relationships that builds these trainees to industry-ready people when they graduate. People who can hit the ground running from day one, whether employed or having their own farms like Miriam. They should be able to have the confidence that they're able to deliver the services because they have done it. My second pillar is centered around infrastructure projects and industrialization. And when it comes to this, leadership is key. And my friend, Engineer Kibias, have just alluded to it and actually requested me to take the lead in this. Engineer, I want to assure you, this is really what my manifesto is centered on. I'm very particular about infrastructure projects and industrialization because of what I've just said in my first statement. The biggest challenge and problem we have is unemployment. And so we must seek to do things that will create employment for our people. We have many infrastructure programs going on in this country. But I don't know if everyone is asked how many jobs is it creating, whether we have. I know because I'm Kenyan, it's not creating the optimum jobs it's doing. On the contrary, it's creating jobs for other young people in other nations. We see them, they work with us in these projects. Their countries are looking for them opportunities, and good opportunities. To achieve this, my presidency will push for engineers leading in engineering organizations and infrastructure projects because they are engineering projects. Unfortunately, the other day we lost a gallant soldier in Engineer Anne Cheboy, who was also a candidate for ordinary council member. While we send her off to a final resting place, I made a statement that I want to repeat it again. The National Infrastructure Fund is a brilliant and a beautiful idea. And to this, I laud the President, His Excellency, Dr. William Samoei Ruto. An engineer have just said, the President has a brilliant idea, but I don't know whether he has the right people to help him in leading those infrastructure projects to yield what Kenyans are looking for and what the President so desires for this country. I did make a request to CS Onesimus Murkomen and PS Kipto that it is our wish and prayer that the National Infrastructure Fund Board, which was then being constituted, have at least something in the range of 50% engineers. While we appreciate that only one engineer, and we congratulate Engineer Latoya Ouna on her appointment as a member of the National Infrastructure Fund. Let's clap for her in her absentia. I'm not sure whether I should blame the government at this point, because I'm not sure how many engineers applied for those roles. And this is where I come back to ourselves. Engineers, let us step up. For now, we are a one-man soldier in Engineer Latoya Ouna at the National Infrastructure Fund. We needed more, but then there are things to come. I know the CEO, the Secretariat, and other senior staff are the next to follow. We pray and implore upon the government. If that fund is supposed to achieve what it's supposed to achieve, we need engineers. We need engineers leading in that space of national infrastructure. That's one of the things I'm going to push. That engineers occupy key advisory positions, not just at the National Infrastructure Fund, but in all other infrastructure and major infrastructure projects. My presidency will work for creating structured pathways for our SMEs in the engineering sector to participate in national government flagship projects. We have heard of the 40%, but it's not being implemented. Why? That is what I want to go and follow up for engineers, to ensure that when we say 40% for engineers, it is either 40% or that project does not take off. Simple. We have the resources. And our president actually said, during some meeting in Siaya, when the discussion was about nuclear energy, the president said, Kenya has a qualified human workforce. In my own submission, 40% is still low. We need to have a 60-40 where 60 is local and the 40 should be coming from the foreign. In all the infrastructure, railways, energy, roads, manufacturing, the blue economy, and the entire maritime environment, airports, water, we need local engineers to lead in those programs. We know, for instance, that there's a program for upgrading our national airport. That must be led by Kenyans. industrial engineering, enterprise, and growth. As engineers, we need to think about producing things for export. We need to think about our professions as services that we can export. And we don't need to go far. A lot of construction and development is happening in Africa. And as Kenya, we stand a huge opportunity to export our labor force in these countries. We have the Federation of African Engineering Organization, which is creating and opening pathways for engineers' mobility. I will seek to enhance those efforts so that an engineer in Kenya can go and work in Tanzania without having to go through so many licensing processes. This ambition is bold, but it's achievable. I want to position Kenya as a global exporter of engineering services so that our young people can have something to do and contribute to the development of this continent. We will ensure that our firms are not just competing locally, but also globally. If the whole world is coming to Olkaria to see how we are running and doing geothermal, we have exported that to Ethiopia to do exploration and drilling for them. And currently we are doing drilling for Tanzania, led by our local Kenyan engineers at Kengen. Then this thing is possible, it's achievable. But to do that, we need support, we need funding. Just like we have women and youth funds, it is my proposal to lobby for an engineering development fund. A fund that will support both training of engineers, but also give soft loans for engineers to establish their enterprises. So that we can have sustainability and growth of our institutions. Research and development, innovation needs to be funded. Our universities need to be funded. But beyond that, we need some dedicated R&D facilities, well equipped for our engineers to be able to do that. This can only be done by the national government. But hey, who can do it? That can only be done by people who have that vision and know what those laboratories are exactly supposed to do. And this has got to be engineers. So this is something we'll follow up with the relevant ministries, probably Ministry of Roads and Transport or industrialization, to ensure that some funds are set aside for developing this kind of infrastructure. We don't need to be following the industrial revolution. Now we are doing 4.0. We need to be part of it and actually lead in the same. So innovation cannot be an afterthought. It must be at the core of the profession. And just to confirm this, some of the best innovative ideas that have been implemented at Geothermal Olkaria, the wellhead technology, is a product of an internal G2G innovation conference hosted by Kengen annually. Yes, to become a coffee. So we need a national engineering R&D council. As a country. Policy, global collaboration, and professional leadership. We need a unified voice as engineers. Our profession must be unified and powerful voice. But nobody will give us that voice. We have to voice it out ourselves. We have the voices ourselves as engineers. As your president, within the first week, I will seek to have an appointment with the PS and the CS for roads to ensure that EBK board is properly constituted. I will lobby and negotiate for it, that God willing, within 2 weeks of election, I would want that sorted out. Our engineers are losing job opportunities because they're supposed to be registered with IEK, both as professional and as graduate, but there's no board to do that 3 months down the line. That is unfair. It is one of the things that should be done with away very easily. It's not something even to take long to discuss. And I believe I will achieve it. I've talked about collaboration. World Federation of Engineering Organization, African Federation of Engineering Organization. These are places I already have made contacts and have networks with. Last year, I attended a function in China that was bringing together engineers. And this was led by the chairperson, the president of World Federation of Engineering Organizations. From some networks, just last month, my colleagues in Nigeria invited me to deliver a speech in honor of their engineer. This already points to networks which we need and which I believe are already established. Folks, this can be done. Technology, digital engineering, and smart infrastructure. The future is now. This is where we are. The world is going digital and we must lead in that charge. I know currently Kenya is among the top-ranked country in the usage of the digital services. I want to change it. It's good to use, yes, but hey, we need to lead in developing. When you use, you are just a consumer. We need to develop it. And I want to laud the Ministry of ICT and Digital Economy. There is a lot of work that has gone into the fiber which has been rolled almost everywhere in Kenya. I've traveled a bit of countries outside and getting internet is difficult. So we are already a step. We need to use now that infrastructure positively by ensuring that our people have the skills to be able to develop the softwares that is being used globally. And how am I intending to do this? Working with the same ministry, I intend to have the digital hubs that have been set up almost in every county be a place where engineering software can be domiciled for ease of access of our engineers wherever they are in the country. That way our engineers will be able to design smart systems that are global and competitive in the world. On governance, professionalism, and ethics, here I'm going to be hard on ourselves. Fellow engineers, we must put our house in order. We must stop this mediocre thing that is going round and round, going to courts, left, right, center for things that we can sit and talk about. We have gone in circles and circles for the last 3 months without holding our elections. And just now I'm informed that there's yet another court process that has set aside elections that are supposed to happen on Monday. I don't know why. All this time, the world is moving, Kenya is moving, nobody's waiting for us. This must stop. This is a function of professionalism. It's a function of ethics. It's actually a function of common sense that we are losing it. And it is sad when you see some of this happening from very senior people from whom you expect to get leadership to benchmark from. That case must be withdrawn and elections allowed to take place. This is because this is not the last elections that's going to happen in IEK. And it's not going to be the last. So our young engineers, our engineers who need to get certifications, who need to get endorsement, are continuing to languish because of problems we create for ourselves and for our people. I think when I become president, one of the things I would seek to really institutionalize and give whatever support is necessary is the issue of alternative dispute resolutions. In terms of policies, our people are complaining of small and basic things. CPDs have become expensive for our people who are paid purely. How do you expect a graduate engineer being paid $25,000 to pay huge monies again on CPDs? CPD, by its definition, is continuous professional development. Who said professional development can only be achieved academically when you go for a workshop and get a certificate? We are now talking about academia-industry linkages. And why are we emphasizing it? We are emphasizing because real learning happens practically. In my presidency, I will table or move a motion in the EBK board, because as president, I'll be a member of the EBK board. And my motion would seek to have at least 50% of CPDs can come from practical work experience. You earn CPDs while working, because that is how you become a better engineer. You don't have to go and pay for some course. Then the rest can be gotten from the others. But since I know that EBK needs to operate and serve engineers in this country in carrying out its mandate of policy and regulation, we must have EBK to be properly resourced by national budget. And this is something all engineers must lobby for, so that EBK stops looking at engineers for operational finances, which is happening now in CPDs. We will fight for that, and there are very many avenues. All these practical infrastructure projects we are talking about, a certain percentage should go into engineering development levy. That is the money that can be used to take care of capacity building of engineers and take care of these regulation aspects that EPK must do. So engineers, let us cast our eyes to the horizon. Together we will implement policies and partnerships to double employment in 5 years and increase engineering-linked manufacturing output by 5%. I started with unemployment and I'm ending with a solution for unemployment. The industries we need to develop will provide the environment and proper remuneration for engineers. This manifesto is applicable both at the national government and at the county level. It's a broad blueprint that is practical and applicable. We want the counties and the CECs in the counties, and I'll be proposing this to the head of public service and to the Council of Governors, that CSS, cabinet secretaries, and CECs at the counties have a performance evaluation criteria that requires them to track the number of people employed by the infrastructure projects within their ministries as a metric, as a measure for performance. That is possible. The task ahead is great, but our potential is far greater. We have the brains, the passion, and the determination to build a first world Kenya. So I ask you, fellow engineers, for your trust. I also ask for your partnership. I ask for your vote, not as a favor, but as a shared commitment to our profession and our nation. Together we will build a first world Kenya, engineered by engineers. Again, I humbly ask for your vote. To all our fellow engineers watching us on YouTube and those following us on the live streaming, I humbly ask for your vote and for your commitment so that together we can implement and achieve this. God bless Kenya. God bless the Institution of Engineers of Kenya. Thank you. We can Yes, thank you, MC. So, I'm told the media people want to have attention with me, but I would like to take some questions with you, so I think we'll finish with that first. Then I come back. Thank you, we can have a seat. We do have some questions from the press. Thank you very much. We do have some questions from the press, and at this juncture, I'd like to welcome them to have questions to our candidates. Once again, thank you all for joining us, and those joining us from live stream on YouTube. You are all welcome for the launch. Just a moment as the media prepares. I think it has been super. MC, is it here or outside? We have some questions here, which will be done here. Yeah. Maybe a mic can go there.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Here, please, you can hear. Last VP IEK and presidential candidate for the 2026-2028 upcoming elections. You've mentioned that you've just been made aware of some court orders that are seeking to suspend the upcoming election that is slated for Monday, why. So what should we anticipate in regard to that matter? Secondly, we just had a court ruling this afternoon that indicated that the courts have upheld the National Infrastructure Fund. So what opportunities does this create for Kenyan engineers? You have proposed that once you take up office, you're not going to only be pushing for the 40% local content, but also you're going to be looking at expanding this space to 60%. Last but not least, looking at the numbers of registered engineers and those who are practicing, there is quite no correlation, so to speak. We have very many engineers who are training as engineers, but in the course of their training, they fall by the wayside because first and foremost, they do not have the opportunities that will allow them to become professional engineers. You've talked about a fund. Maybe you can get into details. How will you address this before we get out? Then also give us just a one-on-one in regard to what the future of the engineering ecosystem looks like under your tenure.
Thank you, Regina. Those are very pertinent questions. Regarding the court ruling, that's not a ruling actually. I think it's yeah, there's a court process that has certainly sought to stop the election that's supposed to take place on Monday. I think I've just been read. I've seen something on social media in the engineering world. I've not gone through it quite deeply. But probably I would say this is related to part of the wrangles that I've been talking about that has been going on in the engineering circles. It's quite unfortunate. The same courts had actually set aside all the other issues that have been put before it and said societies must govern themselves. The court cannot give directions on how societies govern themselves because they are under the registrar of societies and there are tenets to be followed. These elections is being organized under the 2015 Constitution. I've seen or heard that the same court process is saying the elections will be done under 2015. Which 2015? Because this is the process that is taking place currently is under the 2015. But since I do not have more information on it, let's wait and see what engineers will do. Of late, I like the passion and the energy of engineers. I know they are not going to sit pretty. They will take action. Maybe more will come as from tomorrow. After consultations, I get to know what is happening. But let me go to the more important things. I'm really excited about the court upholding the National Infrastructure Fund. In my opening statements, I did say this is a brilliant idea that we need as a country. Infrastructure is what we need for development. And a dedicated infrastructure fund is the way to go. For engineers, we welcome this for many reasons. And for me, as a presidential candidate, it is addressing the very problem I'm seeking to address, that of unemployment. However, I will have to caution that we need to implement the national infrastructure with the right expertise. And therefore, we have to put the right people in that place. And of course, there's something we just have to do. We have talked and talked about corruption and things happening. I will be imploring the government. Every time somebody does not perform in one ministry, in one company, or wherever, they get transferred. We don't transfer problems. You don't transfer problems. You deal with them. You set aside those people. And if they have done criminal issues, they be prosecuted. And they go where they belong. That is the only way we can have discipline. We have heard of cases in China where people are hanged for corruption. That is the only way to institute discipline. Even if we don't go to that extreme, at least let us prosecute them and put them behind bars. These are the people dragging behind our country. But I deeply welcome the court's decision to uphold the creation of the National Infrastructure Fund. The next thing we are going to see is how that fund is going to be managed and how the infrastructure are going to be implemented. And that is where we as engineers come in. We are going to be part of that. We want to be in that table. We are going to be in that table. We are not waiting. We are not going to wait to be invited to the table. We will invite ourselves to the table. And if it doesn't work, tunavunja table na tunajenga table ingine. That is how it's gonna be. We are tired of sitting out there and being called technical when technical decisions are being made when we are not there. I hope that answers you. There was something else, kindly. The other?
What do you intend to do to ensure that you build capacity of graduate engineers so that they transition to actually become professional engineers, looking at the numbers that you have right now?
Yes, thank you. The numbers of engineers. I have actually mentioned that and covered that in my manifesto presentation. That the structured academia industry program should be at least 3 years. From the IEK policies, after 3 years of practical work, you are eligible to start applying for a professional interviews to enable you transition. We will work between the regulator IEK, the academia, and the industry to ensure that first, this 3-year industrial program is mandatory for all engineering graduates. Through the National Infrastructure Fund and the major infrastructure projects, I will be seeking to have a small percentage in form of a levy to support that capacity building process. That is the process that is going to ensure that Kenya gets more professional engineers to serve and work in these major infrastructure projects and actually help implement them in a professional way for this country. We must do that in a manner that it keeps our professionals. We don't want to lose them. Training engineers is very expensive. And it's very sad to hear what Engineer Kibi has talked about, losing engineers. This is real. Just the other day, in the middle of implementing a solar project for 7 folks, we lost one of our engineers to the foreign companies in Italy. Why? Training engineers is expensive. And as a country, we must realize that and realize that what we are doing basically is developing other countries by training our own, paying them low, and allowing other countries to just take them. It is sad. Thank you. Any other? Yes, engineer? Is there an engineer over there? Give him mic, please.
You can hear me. Okay, thank you very much, and it's an honor to be present in this lounge of surely for the next president of the Institution of Engineering of Kenya, 2026-2028, having looked at the campaigns that have happened. So my name is Bernard Moritat, and I work for Kenya Brand Lighting Company. My question will be to you. You have clearly had a manifesto, and you have a very good plan, especially on the part that you want to make sure that internship is mandatory for all the graduates of engineering in the country, in the support of public service, and of course the government at large. This is mandatory, and after the 3 years or so, then automatic or rather trained transition to registration is automatic, which is a very good thing. It means we shall be churning out the engineers in good time. That's like LSK, and whereby they finish their law school, then they go to Kenya School of Law, and then they automatically become the advocates. So my question is, right now IEK have signed the Washington Accord, and one of the challenges that we have as a country is the number of professional engineers that we have. We have about 5,000 professional engineers. One of the challenges IEK is facing is they need to churn that number and double it to 10,000 plus, and that's the reality we are in. What strategies are you going to put up in place. Because sometimes we complain as a country, as engineers, that our space is being taken by quacks, but do we have the numbers to be able to serve the industry? If we are talking of 5,000 engineers to serve the whole country, yet we have about 30,000, 25,000 graduate engineers who have 70–80% have more than three years of experience. So what is your strategy to quickly convert this number to 10,000? Because we have the experience and the market is there. Just like my senior, Sagini, talked about in her speech. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, engineer. I did say in my manifesto launch that as engineers we must sort our problems. So one of the first things I'm going to do as president of IEK is sit down with EBK and first map out a working relationship. It is important for our IEK and EBK to work together because we are working for the same people. When EBK delays in registering graduate engineers, the process at IEK delays because you must be a GE at EBK to register at IEK. But let's give credit where it's due. In the past, things have been a bit tough. We have seen some improvement. We have seen both IEK and EBK conduct mentorship programs, even going to organizations by organizations. We will continue with those efforts, talking to the leaderships in those various organizations to actually support their engineers in this process. And how we're going to do it is, IEK, for instance, works through committees. We have a membership committee. What stops us from having so many membership committees? 3, 4, 5, 10. At IEK, for instance, in the last two councils where I was, one of the things we did was make it frequent for the council, for the membership committee to meet. In fact, at IEK, they meet twice in a month. And if you look at the numbers of graduates who have been registered and the graduates who have transitioned in IEK, the numbers have gone high. There are practical solutions that we can do. And the other one, of course, is one of the reasons why graduates most have not been able to transition is because the other reason they have had is they have not had the experience. And it becomes difficult for them to write those professional reports and sit professional exams. With this structured mentorship problem from the industry, from the academia to the industry, that process is actually sorted out. And we just enhance the admission process on this other side. It should be possible to be done. It's not rocket science. It's not even a typical task. We just need to do it. And of course, like I said, immediately I'm sworn in, probably my next phone call would be seeking an appointment with the PS, Minister of Roads, Infrastructure, on the issue of appointment of the EBK board. We need it to get this process going. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are going to pause for now. We'll allow our president to have a briefing with the media outside. Yes.
Thank you very much, members. We will interact after this.
So meanwhile, for us, as we're here, okay. Now we want to do something only for 3 minutes. We want to do something dramatic here on stage, where we now officially launch the manifesto. So at I'd like to alert the people doing decoration, there was confetti, and then we will display the website on the screen, then I show you how to access the manifesto. We are going digital. We are going fast one. Sidio, you heard the speech, so we are going to send all this manifesto to anybody watching us online. So the people doing decoration, the confetti please. The confetti produces a bit of some loud bang, so don't be afraid. It has some loud sound, but it will be okay. You are all safe. As an occupational hazard, it's just the sound. And you will see papers flying. Okay? So kindly the confetti, and then I'll show you how to access. So on the screen, you will display the address of the website. And then maybe as they're preparing, once it's launched, I'll just show you how to access. Correct? Somebody to bring the confetti, please. Okay, come over, please. We are losing every minute, every time, every second counts, because we are online. Now, just come here in front, and I'll request our presidential candidate to officially pop the confetti alongside. Yes, come. So the confetti is right here. And in front here is the secretariat that is running Harrison Keter campaign team. That song talks about a new start. Taunet Nelel. Aya, twende pamoja. Unaona prezo wako mbele eh? Aya, twende mikono juu. Nayo na chini. Aya, tuambie watu kwa heri yeye. Aya, nataka tusonge mbele pamoja. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, Okay, so we can stop here. The confetti, please, because of the interest of time.
It's now my honor to declare that this manifesto is launched. You are welcome to visit.
Wow,
Thank you. Thank you.
So you just go to any browser on your phone, on your tablet. You type the word, I don't know which camera is here, harrisonketer.com. 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 It's the name of the website. And if you scroll down, down here, it is written, explore the manifesto. So we are going digital, no printing of papers. You tap on that button, you will hear everything that we have launched in this manifesto. So you scroll down, you read through, and for some of us who still like to deal with documents, at the very end here, there is a button for download document. So once you download it, you see a very beautiful, colorful PDF version of the manifesto. Digital. Digital. Thank you very much. So thank you so much. That is the manifesto launch for today. We'll allow our presidential candidate to step out for photographs. Then for us who are inside here, we'll go to the next lobby for refreshments. There is some tea just on the lobby behind us. Okay? So, karibuni sana. Karibuni sana.
you.